Hey my beauties and my beasts. So today's video is in my room, but it's in my blue chair. So yeah, my reading chair. You can you can see all my books over there, and I don't have a bookshelf, so they're literally just piled on the floor. But yeah. So today's video, actually I have some notes about today's video because yes. Today's video is about things not to say to somebody who has OCD. I was just recently diagnosed with OCD, but I had OCD patterns, and actually a lot of people that I spent time with would tell me like, hey Storm, I think you're OCD, and I'd be like, no, I'm not OCD, because I didn't have a diagnosis, and I didn't want to misrepresent people who actually do have OCD. So like, I don't want to be one of those people that were like, oh, I totally have OCD when they really don't. I didn't want to do that because I thought that would be like very rude to those people. So here are 13 things not to say to somebody who has OCD. Let's get into this. It's gonna be great. So, number 1. Don't worry, I'm kind of OCD sometimes too. I haven't gotten this one. But just know, unless you're diagnosed with OCD, don't say that. I mean, I get that whole thing about like, does diagnosis matter because you had that issue before you were diagnosed, and that I get. But I'm talking about those people who are trying to like, oh, it's trendy, so I'm gonna say, oh my gosh, I totally have OCD sometimes too, because my room needs to be organized, okay? And FYI, not every OCD person's room is organized. I'm an example of this. Mine is not. 2, want to come over and clean my house. Oh, that is so offensive. If anybody ever said this to me, I would straight up punch them in the face, or throat punch them, or something. Something violent. Because this is so rude and offensive. It's so awful. I can't. Oh, it's so bad. Never say that to anybody who has OCD ever. Never say that to them. Oh, that's terrible. It's terrible. Okay, number 3. You're being so OCD/irrational. Yes, we're being irrational. Yes, we're being OCD. We know, okay? We're not sitting over here like Miss Clueless, okay? We know what's going on. We know these thoughts are irrational. Most of us have intrusive thoughts. And we know that they're irrational. That's what they are. They're irrational thoughts. We know that they're stupid and probably aren't real and whatever. But that doesn't change anything for us. We still get those thoughts. And it's not as easy as just blocking it out. Like, it doesn't work that way. Sorry, it does not work that way. Number 4. I wish you would just stop. I get this one a lot. Like, my best friend, I love her to pieces, but she just does not get me being OCD. And I have this thing where, if you're wearing a necklace, the clasp that puts the necklace together like on a chain, it needs to be at the back of your neck where it's not visible, because if I can see it, I'll like fix it or whatever on a person. If they're my friend, I'll do it. But like, if I'm not that close with them, I will ask permission first. But my friend Alexis absolutely hates when I do this. Like, hates it with a fiery passion of 1,000 suns. And she gets pissed at me when I do this. And I'll be like, okay, if I don't do it, can you please do it for me? Because it causes me great anxiety, and you know how bad that is, because she has anxiety issues as well. And she will get pissed at me. She will get fucking so pissed at me, and I'm sitting here confused as F, because she knows that I don't want this. This is not a disorder that I asked to have or want to have. This is literally something I can't choose to have. Like, you should understand this. You also have mental illness issues as well. So you should be able to understand that I didn't ask for this. I don't want to have these compulsions. I don't want this. And it kind of sucks, and you're making me feel bad about a disorder that I don't even want. Not that I've said any of that to her. I've just kind of rolled my eyes and rolled over and said whatever. But I don't know. Maybe I should tell her that it bothers me that it bothers her. I know she can't help how she feels, but I can't help how I feel either. And I don't think it's a big thing to ask her to switch the clasp so it's not showing. Okay, number 5. It's not that serious. I get this a lot with my depression, more so than my OCD, but you hear it a lot when talking about mental illness, when you're talking to somebody who does not experience mental illness. People say, oh, it's not that serious, or try to downplay how bad a mental illness can be, especially if it's something common or more common like anxiety or ADHD or OCD or depression. It's like one of those really common ones. They will be like, oh, it's not that serious, or like ask you, is it that serious? Like, oh, it's whatever. But no, their mental illnesses, they're serious. And just because they're more common than other types doesn't make them less serious. Or if they're less, I want to say less bad, but it's not like, I don't want to be like comparing mental illnesses because everybody struggles with their illness in their own way, and it's like their own personal hell, so you can't really quantify it. But there are some that are more hellish, if that makes sense, have more problems like eating disorders or multiple personalities or schizophrenia, I've heard can be very worse. Or, I don't want to say worse because, you know what I mean. I hope. Number 6. You just need to learn to live with it. So, no. Actually, I've heard this one or something similar from my dad, and my dad also has OCD. So yeah. He's pretty much like, just deal with it. You have to hold back your compulsions. Thanks, Dad. That doesn't help at all, but thank you. And a lot of people who have OCD will like, when they can't do a certain compulsion, will self-harm instead. Like, I've heard of people like pulling their hair out or like scratching themselves or picking at their like the skin around their nails and stuff. I do 2 of those 3 things. I also do that. And I'm struggling with self-harm. It's a big thing that I struggle with, so saying that I just need to live with it is kind of stupid. It's not like, okay, so my dad basically said, hey, Storm, you can't always do your compulsions, you need to, like, just deal with that anxiety. And I'm like, okay. How do I deal with that anxiety? Please educate me on how to deal with this anxiety. Please educate me. Number 7. I don't know if that's showing up the opposite way or what on the camera that you're seeing. I'm just gonna stop holding up finger numbers. Is that okay with you? Okay. Your OCD? Oh, so you're a neat freak / germaphobe. No. not every, like, okay, so there's different types of OCD. There's not just, that they have one that's like, okay, so one is like about germs, and then another is about order, and then they have some that describe your, obsession, and then your compulsion. So, like, they have harm obsessions. So, where you have obsessive, intrusive thoughts about harming somebody you care about, or having somebody you care about harmed. And checking compulsions, where you, like, check to make sure your door is locked. I actually have this type of OCD, and I also have order OCD, where things need to be a certain way or they will make me very anxious. And there's other types that I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are different types, so it's not just about being a neat freak or a germaphobe, because I am neither of those things. Just ask any of my friends, or, like, anybody who's seen my room. Yeah. So why is blank such a mess? So I left it as blank because it could mean your room, your locker, your desk, whatever. Or they could also say, but you're so messy. It kind of ties into my last one, which is there are different types of OCD. It's not just being a neat freak or a germaphobe. So some people who have OCD can be very messy. Just how it is. I'm being, number 9, I'm being so OCD today. This makes me cringe so bad when people are like, oh, I'm so OCD, or I'm being so OCD today. It makes me physically cringe. And this was before I even was diagnosed. It's made me cringe then. It's just, it's horrible. Because I think that, for me, ties into that whole making a mental illness trendy, like how certain stores like Urban Outfitters will create merchandise that promotes mental illness, and not in a positive way, like trying to get people to understand about mental illness, in a negative way, like printing a t-shirt that says "Eat Less" that promotes anorexia, which is totally wrong. Don't promote anorexia. It's, like, awful. I don't know, I've never struggled with an eating disorder, but I've had friends, a lot of my friends have struggled from that, and I can tell you that seeing their struggles through that, it looks like hell on earth, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Number 10, other people have it worse, and I've heard that with my depression as well as my OCD and anxiety. Other people have it worse. I've also heard that when I've talked about my past, because of my sexual assault, I've heard people say that. They will always bring up the fact, oh, some other people have had it worse than you did, and obviously I know that, and that's why I'm very hesitant to talk about it, is because other people have had it worse, and I don't want to take away from their struggle and, their problems and issues. I don't want to take away from that. That's also why when one of my friends, my ex-girlfriend, came up to me and told me about being sexually assaulted and how it bothered her so much that when she would tell people, mainly other girls, that they would say that they had also been sexually assaulted and make it all about them. So actually, I didn't tell her about myself being sexually assaulted until way after that, because of that specific reason. I didn't want her to think that I was trying to make it about myself, when I clearly wasn't. If she wants to open up to me about this, that's fine. And I don't want to take away from her struggle by telling her about my own. In that moment, we were talking about her and not about me. Number 11, just relax. Honey, if I could just relax, don't you think I would? I have anxiety and depression and OCD. So don't you think that if I could just erase all of that, I wouldn't? I would so do that. Having a mental illness is like hell on earth, and you can't even begin to understand if you don't have one. It's just, it's terrible. Number 12, just think about something else. And sometimes that does work. Thinking about something else or doing something else can take my mind off of a compulsion or obsession. Yes, it can. But it doesn't always. And I think a lot of most people who hear this who have OCD get this when they have the harm, obsession, the intrusive thoughts about hurting or having a person they care about hurt. Yeah. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. It's up and down. And if you're saying it out of a place of love, I think you should really ask the person what is okay and what is not okay to say, or what things trigger you, especially if you're with somebody, like you have a family member or you're dating somebody who struggles with OCD. Just talk about it, ask them what their triggers are, what their and that goes for any mental illness, what their specific type is, so you can accommodate to them more. I guess that's how it is. Like, I don't know. I had my friend over the other day, my ex-girlfriend over here the other day. She completely messed up my room and my desk. And if you know anything about me, I don't care about the rest of my room. But my desk is a perfectly straight, or not perfectly straight, but like perfectly organized space. Okay? And it's, oh, and it made me cringe. I didn't touch the desk for weeks because I was just silently brewing in silent rage. But I didn't say anything to her because I didn't want to make her feel bad. Number 13, you don't seem like you have OCD. What does somebody who seems like they have OCD are like? What is that? What do they act like? What do they act / look like? Please tell me. I don't get that a lot, mostly because most people can see my compulsions, but I feel like this is more on the side that where these people have less visual compulsions, or they have they're more on the obsessive side than the compulsive side. Like people who have pure OCD, or what that means is like people who only have obsessions, they don't have compulsions. So it's purely obsessive. Sorry, I'm sick, so yeah. So my OCD, you can clearly tell that I have OCD, but I think this happens more with other people that it's not so obvious with, which my reply would be, go away. What does a person who has OCD act / look like? What are they supposed to act like and look like? Please tell me. I often get told that I don't look like somebody who's mentally ill. I get that all the time. So, but I am. So, that's it for today. To the moon back, babe.